CMO needs to start thinking of himself and herself as the chief AI and profits officer of the company. Marketing today is a $1 trillion industry worldwide. 700 billion is digital. 70% of the $700 billion is what I call ad waste. It's money brands are spending reacquiring the customers they had. Revenue taxes. So most businesses are paying 20 to 30% revenue taxes. They are paying it to ad tech platforms for reacquisition. They are paying it to marketplaces because they're not able to build direct relationships. They are paying it to discounts to bring in one and done customers. And now soon they are going to pay it to AIs.
I think the traditional marketing, the way it's done, in my mind, it's dead. If people have not yet recognized it, it's time probably, we say that loud and out, that it's time for firms to start thinking of marketing and business as one single integrated unit.
Marketing's focus really has to be to build relationships with existing customers, maximize lifetime value.
Yeah.
And I think now for the first time, marketers can solve this problem, and that's using AI. I think the first big impact of AI in marketing will be the ability to create micro segments. And that's where the AI marketer comes in. And then it can call the segmentation agent, the content agent, the scheduling agent, multiple agents together to essentially help do what no marketing team, irrespective of the resources, can actually do.
So maybe I'll have an e-commerce agent that does my shopping. I just broadly give my prompt.
Absolutely.
And it reads my behaviors, my needs, and it sort of buys stuff for me. If I don't like it, it returns.
No, and the mantra actually the marketing department should basically, or the CMO should have, is never lose customers. So for me, agentic marketing is about solving the personalization, the segmentation problem, and neo marketing is about solving the attention problem, because this is a problem which has been ignored. Success, or the sort of utopian vision, would be where there is zero ad waste, very little revenue taxes, which means brands have greater profits. And that profit then can be reinvested back in the business for more products, for better customer experiences.
So welcome Rajesh on Clearing the Blur. It's a pleasure to have you here with us this afternoon. And before we start the topical discussion, we have a rapid fire round for you.
Sure.
One startup mistake that every founder must make.
I don't know about every, but I've made this multiple times. Thinking of the technology before the problem to be solved. So you get excited about the new tech that's coming up and you don't pay enough attention to the customer problems that the technology should solve. So it should always be focus on the problem, not the solution.
So technology is the cart and customer is the horse.
Yeah, good way to put it. What's harder, building a company or letting go of control?
Or building a company, definitely. I think the odds are that a company has 99.99% chances of failure for a startup. So building a company is the hardest part because the odds are you will fail.
That's right.
Then the exit part is actually a much easier decision later on.
Sure.
And the most underestimated impact of AI on marketing?
I think it will be, or marketers need to look at the impossible problems that AI can actually solve. So these are problems which we have lived with for probably years and decades. For example, personalization at the level of an individual.
Yes.
This is not possible. We have talked, the first book came out 30 years ago on the one-to-one future.
N is equal to 1.
Yes. So that's, I think for marketers, it's the impossible problems. What are problems today you just cannot solve? And that's what AI will help in.
Awesome. And one decision-making principle you never compromise on?
Integrity. Honesty and doing business with integrity, I think is very critical because you only lose your integrity once. After that, you become like many others.
Right.
And the one thing that AI should never automate?
Human attention. I keep thinking that if there will be agents, and we will all have agents many of them soon. What's the most valuable part? It's human attention. So from a marketing standpoint, how do you make sure that your message is not read by an AI agent who will do the filtering, but by the human who controls the agent?
That was a wonderful rapid fire section. We shall now move to a more detailed discussion. So you graduated from IIT Bombay and Columbia University, two institutions that are known for excellence. How did your early experiences in academia and the US shape your approach to problem solving and entrepreneurship?
The engineering actually background helps a lot in thinking about sort of frameworks and how do you approach problems. Right from JE, when they always teach us in the classes that there are two ways to solve a problem. The long way, in which case you will not finish your paper, and the short way, which is the only way you'll get into JE.
Right.
So, onto IIT, sorry. So that's, I think, one of the things which is there. But when I look back, I think I learned a lot in IIT Bombay outside the classroom. So, in that 17 to 21, they are the formative years for a lot of us. And the first semester I studied very hard and I did not finish top of the class, because everyone's smart out there. And I did a pivot. I didn't know the word that time. I did a pivot to cultural activities. And that helped me a lot. It helped me open up as a person. It helped me make friends whom I otherwise would never have made. Two of my board advisors now at Netcore are people I met. They were 1 year senior, 1 year junior, not in my department. It's because of Mood Indigo.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So those are relationships which have stood the test of time for 40 years. At Columbia also, I think for me, one of the biggest learnings came in my first semester when I decided to take up the challenge of a course in computer science with no background called operating systems. And I was told you can't do it because there are prerequisites, C and Unix, which I did not have. And I still persisted. My advisor said, I'll give you 3 weeks. If your test results are not good, I won't let you take this course. And I was very keen to take that course because then I could finish in nine months with the appropriate other courses in CS, in computer science. First test, I got 2 out of 20. I spent 80% of my time after that on this single course. I graduated number 2 in the class.
Wow, okay.
And in a way, it showed me that if you decide to do something, you can make it happen. See, at that time, I mean, entrepreneurship, etc., are not really just words which you hear. This is like way back in the 80s. But this idea of taking on impossible or challenges to solve was something which when I look back, I think that was a defining moment for me.
Amazing, nice story.
So Rajesh, I think all of us in our life and in our experience, we have had our share of success, but also many failures, right? Many a times those failures are not visible to the rest of the world and everybody talks about the success, right? But I think you have gone on to not just talk about failure, but you have also described your favorite failure. On your image processing software that you spoke about. So I think just tell us a bit more about both that failure and what came out of that failure that became your favorite failure now.
So image processing, I had come back from the US after my master's working for 2 years and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I came back to be an entrepreneur. And first, I think 2-3 years, everything I tried did not work. And one of them towards the end of that period was the image processing startups. I was very excited. Great demos. I would take images from, say, microscopes or metallurgical equipment. We could count objects. We could sharpen images to get contrast, etc. But I couldn't sell it. And it was deeply sort of impactful on me in a negative sense that, this was my sort of dream idea, which I could not make it work. And when I look back, when I was writing my book and I was thinking about my life, I realized that if this venture had worked, I would not have started my next company, India World, which became the big success. So in a way, I call this my favorite failure, because sometimes it is out of this failure that a new entity was born, which otherwise would not, if my imaging work would have succeeded, I would have stuck with it.
Yeah, there's a story about Angry Birds, right? Rovio, the studio that created Angry Birds, that was a 51st game that they created. First 50 were all duds, and they didn't give up. I think it's a story of resilience.
So it was, your next venture was a bigger success, but more importantly, were you ahead of the time, or you found a great product but it was not fit for the market? Just curious to know what was.
So the same thing which I said earlier, I fell in love with the technology.
Okay.
I realized later on that the only buyers of the image solutions were government organizations, whether it's an R&D institutions, and this is way back 92, 93 time frame. And the tendering process would take 1.5 to 2 years. I mean, no way can a startup survive that tendering process period. So I would travel everywhere with my thick or big laptop, heavy laptop, all over the place in India. Great, like I said, great demos. But then, no, sir, we'll have to do a tender. Tender is gone, end of story.
So horse before the cart, or cart before the horse. Back to that story. Okay.
So interestingly, personal anecdote here, I went to BITS Pilani, and image processing and image compression was a love for me back then, and focused on fractal image compression. That was a undergrad thesis that I had. So and then you started India World, which obviously became a big success when virtually internet was unknown at that time. People were still trying to figure that out, and you launched it without external funding, and you convinced media owners to share content right for free. How did you go about negotiating something like that in such an early untested market? What gave you the conviction that this idea was worth pursuing, given the fact that the earlier venture did not bear fruit for you?
So when I look back, I think for me, this idea about India World, and I'll talk about it in a minute, but it came after multiple failures. So for me, all I was thinking at that time was, God, please give me something which works. Yeah. It was just repeated failure. So what I connected, but I would read a lot at that time, and I saw the internet sort of rising. This is mid to late 1994, and I connected the sort of growth of the internet, the way AI is growing. I mean, right now it's probably the early days at that time, with the pain points that I had when I was in the US and wanting to come back. I could not get news about India, any information on India, nothing, even cricket scores, etc. Very difficult to get at that time. And I realized that there were a lot of people like me who wanted maybe Indian recipes, Indian stock market updates, Indian news, and could not get it, and that the internet could actually bridge these distances. So there was no sort of scientific study or anything at that time. I said, here's a pain point, and I talked about it with many others, saying, yeah, even if something like this could be done, it would be great, because we'd love 𝗵𝗷𝗃 comics, 𝗥𝗷𝗲𝗃 cartoons, India Today stories, and then that is exactly what I did. And I wrote to about, I think, 100 media owners in India. They are physical letters. There was no email, remember, at that time.
Right.
So I didn't know what else to do in the sense. I had no connections, but I just wrote letters. A few of them agreed to meet. At least India Today, I got a reply back from Mr. Arun Puri saying that meet Raj Chengappa. I got a reply from R.K. Lakshman.
Wow.
Saying that, please, I would love to meet you at the Times of India office. And I still remember that meeting when people were shocked when I reached the Times of India office, and they said, many times it's hard for us to get meetings with him. And who are you? For a lot of people, the internet was confused as yet another TV channel at that time. I mean, TV was rising.
All right.
And then when I met Mr. Lakshman, I actually showed him that, look, your cartoons will appear like this on the internet, and people sitting anywhere will be able to see it. And he said, please go ahead. He gave me the permission. He did not ask for any money. His only thing was spread this to as many people as possible.
Awesome.
Nice.
And I think out of, in that time I realized I could not be fearful. You could, the no's did not matter. It's the yeses which matter.
Wow.
So I got about 25, 30 content providers to agree. because there was no one else. It was the blue ocean at that time. And that's how India World started. I mean, we were like 5 people sitting in one small office, collecting content from different places, through floppy disks at that time, uploading it on the internet for the rest of the world to see.
Wow, what an incredible story.
Awesome. And I think that's true life of an entrepreneur, right? Persistence and grit.
Absolutely.
In the midst of adversity. But then I think something big happened after that. If I remember, you were India's first truly internet multimillionaire. The deal with 𝗵𝗵𝗃 $115 million. I think that was the largest deal India saw. And truly, I remember there was a Hotmail out in US with 𝗵𝗵𝗃 exit and your exit here. That really created a lot of headlines. I used to read a lot when I was growing up with seeing that deal happen. And but tell me, as I think at that point in time, founders exiting, and probably in the hindsight, it looks like it was a good time to exit, and then we saw a lot of boom and bust cycles. What were the emotions that you underwent, especially when you concluded the deal?
Maybe I'll give you a little bit before the deal. So the deal happened in November 1999. So it was about 4.5, 5 years since I had started India. My wife and I, we had done it together. We were both working. For a year before, in fact, for 3 years before, I tried to raise capital. I would get interest from potential investors, but the deals never happened. And when I look back, I think it was in part because I would always quote a high valuation number. I was profitable, okay? So there was no worry about raising money to make ends meet. And I remember 3 months before I sold for 115 million, there was a deal which did not go through. I was at 17 crores pre-money, or I was at 17.5. I had an investor offering at 17 crores. This is valuation, not investment. Investment would have been like 2 or 3 crores. 50 lakhs gap. I did not come down, investor did not come up, and less than 3 months later I had sold for 30 times, almost 30 times that figure. So those were almost surreal times that were there. My valuation went up from 40 million to 115 million in essentially 10 days. And it's all thanks to the negotiation skills of DSP Merrill Lynch and 𝗵𝗵𝗃 and his team. They told me that all you have to do is to make presentations. You are not going to discuss numbers at all. That you leave it to us. And more importantly, this is a good lesson for entrepreneurs. If you want to sell, make sure you have 2 interested bidders on the table. After that, there's no upper limit in that sense. If I had just one, there's no negotiation.
Yeah, because the value, each bidder sees it in a very different manner.
Absolutely.
But what happened then? Did you see that as obviously you sold at a pretty high, like 40 times. But did you see it as an opportunity to do something bigger, or you thought, good money, good exit, I'm out now?
So in today's parlance, I would say I sold at 166 times revenue. You were like 3 crores, the deal was at 499 crores. So crazy. And if I had waited 6 months, we probably would be lucky to get even maybe 1 or 2% of that. Yeah. So timing matters. 𝗵𝗵𝗃 again put it very well to me. More important than knowing when to enter is knowing when to exit. Many people just want to wait for the next higher offer, next higher thing, and sometimes that doesn't happen because the crash came very quickly.
Yes.
In 2000. After that, so the day after the deal, I was on the front page of Economic Times, Business Standard, the financial papers. There was no social media. There was not much of TV that time. The kind of TV we have now. My wife saw me, Bhavna, she saw me gloating, looking at my own face, first time on the front page of an Economic Times. And then she sat me down and said, if you think about the money you have in the bank, you will not do anything again in life. The deal is done. That's the past now. Go back to what you do best, which is solving problems, being an entrepreneur. It's a fresh start from here on. The past is done. And I think, in a way, that is what I would say saved me. In the sense that it helped me think about what to do next. I struggle next 7-8 years because I like to try out new ideas all the time. Most of them don't work. But sort of that's the context. I tried to create at that time an RSS based or an email based RSS reader, a blog search engine. We built actually the world's first blog search engine at that time. I tried to do a package for SMEs in India, a single package of a server which could handle everything for them. I think pretty much what Zoho does today in a way. None of these things worked. So I kept failing one after the other. Next 7 years were spent like this. I tried to create a thin client, thick server solution. So the idea was that India, it's hard to get computers. So what if you had a thin client and a thick server? So it's what we call today as cloud computing. So lots of these early versions of ideas, but I was, I think, too naive to think that these things would work.
So given your experiences, firstly, fascinating stories, right? You hit a hurdle, right? And then just around the corner, there is a big win that's waiting for you. So did that also prepare you for taking further risks, just thinking in mind that maybe the hand of God is on your head and the next big breakthrough is just around the corner?
See, in a way, I think because of the early failures that I had, I think the success did not go to my head. And my sort of realization at that time, I think in a way was that just because you failed in the past does not mean you are a failure. It's the idea that fails. It's not the person who is the failure. And just because I have succeeded once does not mean I will succeed all the time. And someone asked me once around that time, were you smart or were you lucky? Because the timing was such that, and the answer sort of I gave was, I was smart to start a business where I could benefit from the luck that came my way.
Nice.
You have to be there when the luck arrives. So if you are not even there, it will go somewhere else.
Luck is very important. I mean, like I said, even the imaging, if the imaging thing had worked, this would have not happened. So this is part of life. I don't look back and worry about paths not taken. And we can only live life in one direction. You make the decisions, you live with them, and you move forward.
Awesome. And we'll fast forward to the work you're doing now, right? And you're focusing on marketing, a lot of fascinating things you've been doing in the space. So now when you look at marketing, a lot of things have changed from traditional marketing to modern marketing, and you talk about neo marketing. And some things that I'm looking at, the whole idea of SEO, Google search engine, the economy of the blue links, that's under question mark because of AI. And marketing teams worldwide think in terms of campaigns. And today, campaigns are giving way to more of continuous intelligence, right? How do I track my customer? And they think in terms of data, they think in terms of intelligence and insights that can further grow the business. So now when you think about all of that, and you've been at the cutting edge of AI in the marketing space, how is AI reshaping marketing? What are some things that people are not still getting about these changes?
So Rajeev, we first start by looking at the impossible problem or the big problem. The marketing today is a $1 trillion industry worldwide. 700 billion is digital. So this is essentially what we are all familiar with, Google, Meta, etc. And my belief is that, at least from conversations, analysis we have done, 70% of the $700 billion is what I call ad waste. It's money brands are spending reacquiring the customers they had. So they are bringing in customers through the door. They are not engaging them well enough. And then these customers are leaving. They are churning. They become dormant, inactive. And then marketers are spending money again to bring them back. I mean, this is just should not be done. So if you actually look at marketing budgets, retention or engagement with existing customers, CRM, whatever we call it, is about 10% of the budget. 90% is new customer acquisition, of which 70 of the 90 is reacquisition of their own customers. And I think unless this problem is solved, most D2C digital sides of businesses will never be profitable. You can control all other aspects of the business, okay, your gross margin, your employee costs, office costs, etc. But this is the big variable.
Yeah.
And most companies, this goes to 15-20% of revenue. I've now started calling these as revenue taxes.
Yeah.
So most businesses are paying 20-30% revenue taxes. They are paying it to ad tech platforms for reacquisition. They are paying it to marketplaces because they're not able to build direct relationships.
Yeah.
They are paying it to discounts to bring in one and done customers. And now soon they're going to pay it to AIs.
Right.
Okay, ChatGPT and others. So marketing's focus really has to be to build relationships with existing customers, maximize lifetime value,
Yeah.
and minimize CAC. Because that is the spread which makes a business profitable. So that's the core problem. And I think now for the first time, marketers can solve this problem. And that's using AI. Because these are problems which no humans can solve, how many ever people we deploy. So that's the context
Yeah.
as I think about it. Now, how do we go about it? I think there are two parts as I see it. The first is that the MarTech platforms which are there are in fact today's MarTech platforms which are supposed to help with customer engagement are in fact part of the problem. They are, to borrow a title of a new book recently and an excellent book, they're the strategic enemy. Because the MarTech platforms are not helping marketers build the relationships. And because those relations are not being built, marketers are then forced into retargeting, reacquiring their own customers through ad tech platforms. And that is again pure waste. So the first question is that how can AI help here with existing customers? And then as customers sort of trail off, not every customer is going to be a loyal customer all the time. As customers trail off, how can AI and AI in marketing help with recovery of those customers? So in my mind, it's a sort of two split. There's agents, AI agents, agentic marketing, both in the marketing department as well as representing customer twins. I call them sort of brand twins. And then neo marketing, which addresses the sort of middle of the lapsing, lagging, lost customers, which so far has been ignored. This transition has been ignored until it is too late. But if these two problems can be addressed, I think marketing has a unique opportunity to become back to what it used to be once, the driver of the business. Drucker said innovation and marketing. I mean, today I say it, marketers have become collection agents for the ad tech platforms.
Right. And there's also a problem of not catching the signal early on, right? We tend to focus on surveys and customer sentiment, but there's so much signal that's not captured in the marketing process.
Absolutely, because the focus has shifted not to retention, but to optimizing the acquisition side.
Right.
And what has been not understood is that most of the acquisition is actually reacquisition.
Yeah.
So the frame of mind needs to change, because really retaining the customers who have walked in through the door. It's what the Kirana store does. It's what most offline businesses try to do.
Right.
With first name connects, etc. Okay, that is today what digital has missed out on, and that's the cause of the losses that we see, of the overspends. And that's a race digital business cannot win. You're fighting a CAC race where CAC is going up 25-30% year on year.
So Rajesh, as you just said, I think the traditional marketing, the way it's done, in my mind, it's dead. If people have not yet recognized it, it's time probably, we say that loud and out, that it's time for firms to start thinking of marketing and business as one single integrated unit, rather than marketing sitting outside and trying to come out with brand and performance marketing in silos and somebody is driving engagement. And more so, I think also because you rightly pointed out, there's a pressure on cost, bring efficiency in the whole organization. You can't keep reacquiring your customers and pay a lot to the ad tech companies. Will be too happy for you to remain inefficient. But I think today with this whole multi-agentic AI framework, I think a lot of these things are getting reimagined in terms of how do we bring efficiencies using two areas that I know you have spoken in the past about is the AI co-marketer and AI twins.
Yes.
So especially I think when we look at the impact of these, not just for analyzing, but like human create operate and run these kind of campaigns and engagement tools more efficiently? I think a couple of questions that we just wanted to run. One is, do you see that tools like these will end up bringing greater efficiency and performance and also even accountability within the organizations? And second, where are we if we are making progress in this journey?
Great question, Deepak. So if we think about what AI has done so far, it's largely been on the content side, the generative AI side. Now most organizations use AI in some way or the other for whether it's image, video, or even text generation, and that's great. So that's what I look at as the faster, better, cheaper. That's solving the efficiency problem.
Yeah.
I think the next leap with agentic AI will be on the impossible problems. Now what's the biggest challenge which is there today for most marketers? It's really segmentation. So you have 5 million, 10 million customers, 100 million customers. How many segments do most marketing teams create? Typically 8 to 10.
Yeah.
Because it's humanly impossible for them, because every day they have to create content, journeys, analytics for all of these segments. So essentially what's happening is, you have a segment of hundreds of thousands or millions, and the relevance then takes a backseat because the same message sent out to everyone, and that sort of starts the disengagement process that we just discussed.
One size fits all problem.
Absolutely, one size fits all. So I think the first big impact of AI in marketing will be the ability to create micro segments, and that's where the AI marketer comes in. So what the AI marketer can do is essentially replicate a marketing department where there are multiple sub-agents.
Yeah.
So you give the marketer an objective. I want to grow my revenues, or I want to improve my margin mix, etc. And then it can call the segmentation agent, the content agent, the scheduling agent, multiple agents together to essentially help do what no marketing team, irrespective of the resources, can actually do. This is, I think, the first.
So it's like an orchestration layer which is now calling on different resources and how to optimize for the key outcomes.
And scale.
Yeah.
But imagine having 1,000 micro segments which can now have tailored content within the brand guidelines, within the guardrails created automatically for these. It's a completely transformative experience. Suddenly now the need for getting more and more zero-party data becomes valuable. Otherwise that cycle does not play out, because if I can collect the data, but if I can't create the sort of micro segments, I can't use it. So I think that's the first place where AI is going to have a transformative impact. The second, I think, is going to be in the brand customer interface. So this one is on the marketing side.
Yeah.
The second part is where the twins come in. So imagine every customer having a twin of itself, but controlled by the brand. There will be customer agents, which will come up later. Simple example. Today, I cannot actually go to a Netflix and talk in natural language saying, hey Netflix, I've got a couple of hours free today evening. I'm not in a mood for watching any web series, but give me a nice thriller movie, and so on. Ironically, I can put that same prompt into ChatGPT and I can get very good recommendations.
Netflix has just started to release that feature in beta now.
Great. I have not seen it yet, but I mean, this is what is really required, because that's the new world coming up right now. Now, for this, what does a Netflix or whoever need? They can, I'm sure, and they have it. I'm sure they have it today. It's a twin of me.
Yeah.
All my MarTech data, the category data, external data, as in real-time contextual data. Is it raining outside? Is the weather hot?
Yeah.
All of these things. So we have a segment of 0.1 in a way. So the segment of one dream is actually going to come true through these agents. So if you see the progression, with MarTech, you add n is equal to many. So you have segments of large numbers. With the agents, the agentic marketing, the co-marketer and the multiple marketing department agents coming in, you have n is equal to few, micro segmentation. And then you have n is equal to 1 with the twins. And this will help tailor the right content. It will be able to analyze the inputs or the zero-party data which is being collected, This, I think, is going to be transformative because this creates personalized experiences which are just not possible today by humans. This is where I think AI in marketing is headed.
For example, one of the classic challenges we all see is the way we manage money. I mean, coming from banking and investments, but you get one size fit all advisory basis your risk profile or asset allocation, but not necessarily about our investment habits, our goal horizons, or our fear, greed, and anxiety around money. So there are a lot of these softer aspects which today cannot get converted into what is a recommendation that you should get versus I would get. Even if we are in the same age, same income, you end up getting just one output. Brilliant. I think I see this probably becoming the way for answering the first problem that you mentioned, that how do you re-engage and keep your customers with you as you add value. But I think also as we are seeing it, there's a lot of change you're seeing also in the way technology and skill sets are getting reimagined within the marketing organizations, within the way how enterprises are looking at it. I know they cannot just convert into a MarTech organization overnight. But when you look at both the trends and the way organizations are under pressure today, what are the three major shifts that you are seeing that's driving this change?
So I'll add one more point to the previous one because we covered one part. There's a second part which I think where AI is going to have a transformative effect, and that is the problem of attention recession, so attention decay. So what's happening is, as we get messages, the push messages, the notifications, the recommendations, sometimes our attention our engagement diminishes. And if brands don't catch it at the right time, then we end up in the reacquisition loop, which is ad waste, which is the revenue tax that is being paid. But now with AI, I think we can actually for the first time solve this attention problem. So I have this framework: best, rest, test, next. So best is the loyal customers where everyone is focused on. Next are the new customers. But in between these two, between the loyal and the leads, there's the lapsing and the lost, the rest and the test. So these sort of migrations or these transitions can now be addressed by AI. In fact, the twins can actually create appropriate content based on your interests. For example, in finance, there are already 100 different topics which could be of interest. 50 different questions which could be asked to get better, to make better recommendations. Now, humans cannot do that at the scale which is going to be possible here. So solving the attention problem and solving the personalization problem. So for me, agentic marketing is about solving the personalization, the segmentation problem, and neo marketing is about solving the attention problem, because this is a problem which has been ignored, just not been addressed. This, I think, is really the marketing department of the future, where they will have they'll have three teams according to me. First is the acquisition team, but the acquisition team's goal should be just acquiring net new customers. Okay, so please do not reacquire. I mean, that should be the mantra for them. Then there's the retention team. And then the third team, which looks at the middle, the missing middle, the rest and test, that actually can be outsourced to a partner. I call it progency, product plus agents plus agency. So it does not distract from the marketing team from its two primary focuses. Now, what the big shift which I think needs to happen is, so therefore the three things you asked. First is the recognition that there is a missing middle, that there's a rest and test. The second is ensuring that there's a right partner who can help this, because the internal teams will adopt the AI, etc. But don't distract the internal team with this particular problem. And there are external entities which can do this very well, like the agency. So it's a progency. And the third element, which now becomes very important here, is a mind shift for the CMO and the marketing department. The CMO now needs to start thinking of himself and herself as the chief AI and profits officer of the company. See, the problem with marketing has been it has been focused only on growth. The focus has to shift to profitable growth. Profits cannot be the domain of just the CEO or the CFO. Marketing needs to own. And in fact, that is how CMOs also will get in the race for becoming tomorrow's CEOs. I mean, how many marketers do you see make it to CEO? Because they don't understand P&Ls.
No, absolutely. And I think we are seeing now, because of the way customers engage with a brand, there is a convergence of multiple roles and functions within the organization. So you cannot design it in and operate in silos as traditional organizations used to run. Great.
Yeah, I was going to just build on Deepak's point. So your earlier message about creating the twin, AI twin, and doing the right thing for the customer. Now that I have all the data in one place about that individual, it requires enormous coordination internally. So it's not just about the marketing team putting this together in terms of the data and the intelligence. Now the products need to be plugged in, saying, can I serve the right products, right? Maybe some other team needs to be plugged in. So how do you see the marketing function do you see them expanding to do other things, or how does that organization actually look?
So great question, Rajeev. If I were to take the utopian view, it will not happen, but it's an aspirational thing for every company to look at, is a department of one for a segment of one.
Oh, okay.
That tomorrow's marketing department can actually be run by a marketer with an army of agents. So it's almost like 𝗥𝗷𝗷𝗃 on a Despicable Me.
Yes.
𝗥𝗷 and the minions.
Yeah.
And the minions are basically AI agents who are out there. There'll be, of course, interim steps before we get there, but I think that the mindset has to be that marketing is not a disconnected from the business, as was said. Marketing is central, like it used to be once upon a time. Demand generation, brand building. Today, marketers basically, you want growth? Okay, Google, Meta, here's some more money. Give me more clicks.
Yeah.
And that is not the future, because that comes at a very heavy cost for the brand. But marketer says, hey, look, for me it's growth. That mindset has to shift to profitable growth. And AI gives a unique opportunity, therefore, to marketers. I will lead the AI revolution. It's not an engineering problem, it's a business problem.
Yeah.
That AI can finally solve these impossible problems. And the mantra actually the marketing department should basically, or the CMO should have, is never lose customers and never pay twice. I think if they can adopt this, we have transformed marketing and the life of marketers.
Awesome. I love what you just mentioned. So I want to double click on this N=1 hyper-personalization you're talking about. And the reality now that you can have 1,000 micro segments. So a question that comes to my mind is, earlier when there was 7-8 segments and there were people armed, mapped to these segments, and they were taking care of the authenticity, the messaging, is it right for my customer, the oversight. A lot of things happened that ensured that whatever we did was right for the customer.
Absolutely.
Now when you have 1,000 micro segments, maybe all run by agents, right? What ensures authenticity? Because anything can break down here, right? With one segment, an agent misbehaving can sort of backfire on the brand. So how do you see that future when you have 1,000 agents catering to 1,000 micro segments? Do you see the human in the loop? What is their role going to be? How do they provide governance around this whole thing?
Yeah. So I think human in the loop is a great point. There will be humans at different stages. It's almost like today when we start a deep research, we are giving the prompt, but then there are questions being asked of us. What is the objective? What is the outcome that you want? And then the research happens and we get the output. I think, a year ago, I remember there used to be a lot of talk of hallucinations. That talk, if you see, has diminished to almost close to zero. Now, we don't hear this word anymore, because the AI is becoming better and better.
And it's learning faster than humans.
And it's learning faster than absolutely. Absolutely. So this is how we'll start seeing the shift. There will be humans in the loop, okay? But the humans, I think, increasingly will move up the chain. What's my strategy? What are the new products? What are the insights which are there from all of these agent interactions which are coming in? Okay. What are the partnerships I need to do external to my brand? And that's everywhere you will get help from agents, AI. But I think the marketing department of tomorrow needs to reconstruct itself, as every organization has to, okay, as every industry is going to, in the age of AI. See, the challenge has been in the last, and it's almost now 3 years since ChatGPT has launched.
Right.
Personal adoption has been very good.
Yeah.
Enterprise adoption has been low, because there are lots of questions which come, but the problem there is actually the human in the loop.
Yeah.
In coding, we see this now in many companies where engineers don't want to adopt the AI tools or for whatever reasons in many cases, because they are worried about their jobs.
Yeah.
But I think this is the natural progression every technology. You talked about horses and carts earlier. It's the horses and cars comparison.
Right.
In the early 1900s, which was there. So this is, I think the AI is evolving very rapidly. I keep giving the example. In 3 years, or in rather let's say 5 years, we've had 5 generations of ChatGPT.
Right.
Telecom, it took 30 years to get to 5 generations. I mean, one generation today is 6 to 9 months, or probably under a year. That's the speed.
Yeah.
So I think, there will never be a foolproof, perfect scenario, but I think the benefits that it's going to get, I think are going to be much more significant. And this actually for businesses, this is one of those inflection points which I call, where you can actually build a profits monopoly, a 𝗵𝗶𝗃. Early adopters, like it happened with the internet. It was a massive disruption, but it took a little longer to play out. We had the first generation, second generation, post the flow. I think in AI that's happening very, very quickly. So companies have to adopt it, and I think the marketing function, because it interfaces with customers. Now, if you just play it out, you have attention. Attention helps you collect more zero-party data, not just the first party. You can ask questions in the interaction, and then use that now to micro-segment or to personalize the experiences back to the customer in terms of content, in terms of product recommendations, and even potentially ads, which can be shown. For many marketplaces, ads are the biggest source of profits actually now. So a lot of this flows in together. But it is probably the #1 CEO agenda, and the marketer, CMO has to become the sort of AI and profits officer if this transformation has to happen.
Just to follow up on that, Deepak, if you may.
Yeah, sure.
So you mentioned that each one of us will have our own agents in the future. So maybe I'll have an e-commerce agent that does my shopping. I just broadly give my prompts,
absolutely.
And it reads my behaviors, my needs, and it sort of buys stuff for me. If I don't like it, it returns. So in the future, will marketers be even focusing on the consumer, or will you be targeting my agent?
Very good question. So the marketing department's agents will be of course targeting your agents. Okay, that's going to happen. You're already seeing the early ones.
Agentic commerce.
Agentic commerce, absolutely. Right. It's coming with shopping agents now, coming on most of the platforms. But I think also what's going to happen is that you will need those kinds of content, that kind of content which gets past the agents to the humans.
Right.
Where the emotions are there. So if a brand is telling a story, an agent cannot feel the story, the human can. So the content that you make, the recommendations and all can go through the agents, but the emotional, the brand building part, etc., has to connect because there's a person on the other side. So that's why I said in the beginning, it's the human attention. So marketers have to think that what part of my content will the human want to listen or watch? Because the agent is not going to laugh or cry or anything.
Right.
The humans can.
No, but I think very pertinent question that Rajiv asked, because agents creating and agents consuming, it becomes like you are creating a wall on both sides to say whether it will go past the agent. It's like you had secretaries or you had set of people who came and told you which meetings you should attend and which one you shouldn't.
Yes.
Probably it will tell you what content is relevant for you and which one is not, which job offers today you find job, medical, every single area you will have this agentic framework. This is so amazing. But I think as just building on what Rajiv asked, I think still you're seeing that while the tech development is on an accelerated phase, the adoption is also moving at a reasonably good pace from a consumer side, at least, like we spoke about adoption of be it ChatGPT or Perplexity or any of these tools. But when we talk about the enterprise side of it, it's still harder. And like you also mentioned, one of the things is the culture often.
Absolutely.
Because I think people, while in the personal space they behave differently, but when it comes on to behaving within the enterprise, I think that behavior changes for cultural reasons. So, and at Netcore, I know you are doing a massive transformation by shifting from AI in product to AI at core. Right, and I think that itself, so while you are talking about it for external world, you are also building and driving a lot of change and transformation where there are new ways of working, collaborating, and trusting machine intelligence is coming at the core of what you run. I think the same thing when I look at multiple organizations, and we spoke about. In the organizations, there is a marketing AI paralysis. They want to do things. They all are excited when they read and probably watch contents like what we are just talking here. But they just don't know where to start. Because a lot of marketeers never came from a strong technology understanding. We always used to talk about a left brain, right brain. Creative folks are very different than the data, but today there's a convergence both of the skill sets and how these tools are coming together. So if you're talking to CMOs or budding CMOs or people who are at different marketing leadership positions, how should they be thinking, reimagining from culture to getting started?
See, I think within the organization, I think CEOs have to start vibe coding. So I used to also read about all of this. It was sort of theoretical. And one of my colleagues sat me down. And he said, for the next 4 hours, we are going to do vibe coding. I said, no, that's not for me. He said, sit and experience what we are going to do. And this whole idea that you can give prompts into a Google Firebase or Google AI Studio and get applications out of it.
Yeah.
And you have to do it yourself. This is not something which you see. No, it's like the first time you actually typed something into ChatGPT and you saw the answers coming. Now, this is where it has to begin. Everyone has to realize we all have a vibe coder within us, which has to be unleashed. What it does is it unlocks the imagination. If I can create a game, a Wordle equivalent or a Hangman equivalent in 5 minutes, can that go out in my email, my interactive email? And I can now have games inside my email. You know, if a food company can have, hey, here's a pizza, count the number of triangles. So you're subconsciously implanting ideas. Now, all of this would have earlier taken a lot of time and effort. So I would say that the starting point for the AI transformation, it has to begin from the top. And I would say even above the CMO.
Get your hands dirty.
It has to be the CEO priority. We used to talk about it earlier.
Yes.
You know, various things. You know, the CEOs have to sort of look at what social media is and do all of this. I think this is the imperative now. Vibe coding is not sort of a fun term or not a term to be taken lightly, because it empowers people to get their own work done. In fact, what we have to think about is, how do you imagine a world without dashboards? CEOs, CMOs should be able to ask in natural language, tell me what my best performing campaigns yesterday were. Give me the recommendations of what I should do today. In fact, take it one step further, there will be no campaigns because messages will be personalized. But if you start playing around with some of this, go beyond prompting, that's done. Here, now how do you create master prompts? Now that is an art in itself. So some of the next level thinking, vibe coding, a lot of these things, I think are, once the adoption starts at the top level, only then will we see the next level. Otherwise, it will all be the generative stuff.
Yeah, stuff like, say, the whole decision-making system. Why do you need so many reports and dashboards? What you need is key insights that helps you take a decision.
That itself makes the organization more efficient. People are not running around producing.
And CEOs today, if you ask in meetings, we've all been there, right? You ask a question and someone says, I'll get back to you with the answer. Let me just look at the data and come back. These are answers which you get in 15 seconds, speeds up decision making.
Absolutely.
You know?
I love what you say about vibe coding, that it's not a spectator sport, you have to get involved. And in a way, my mind went back to typists at one point in time. There was a category of people called typists, and we all became typists because word processor, pretty much everyone became a typist. And then when prompting was a thing, there was a category called prompt engineers. And today, we're all prompters.
Absolutely.
And there are a few million coders out there, and I think a few billion vibe coders. Because we've got a problem in our heads, and through English, can we solve for it, right? I think great takeaway, right? All of us should get our hands dirty with vibe coding. So Rajesh, imagine it's 2030 and right now if you were to look at your crystal ball and tune into 2030, what does future of marketing, what does marketing look like in 2030?
For me, success or the sort of utopian vision would be where there is zero ad waste, very little revenue taxes, which means brands have greater profits. And that profit then can be reinvested back in the business for more products, for better customer experiences. And I think a lot of these customer experiences will be powered at the n=1 level, or at least that should be the aspiration going forward, because each one of us is different. It's not women 25 to 34 interested in fitness. Sarah is different from Priya, is different from Maya, different from Ria. In fact, if I extrapolate it, I think there will be a what I call a live ledger or a twin ledger, whichever way you look at it. A P&L of a brand is actually the aggregate P&Ls of every individual customer.
Right.
So imagine if businesses could have a P&L for every customer. So I know exactly how much have I spent in acquiring, retaining this customer, how much this customer has made for me through own spend, through referrals. Okay, and that's sort of the vision that I think we should bring to life. And then you know who your most profitable customers are, not just at the revenue side, but at the P&L level.
Right.
And how do you then get more? So eventually the goal has to be, how do I get more customers to maximize their lifetime value? It's a simple equation really.
Yeah.
Maximize lifetime value. If I don't lose these customers, if I don't have to pay twice or more times for acquiring them, I build a profitable business, gives me more money to invest into new products and experiences.
Awesome. So Rajesh, you had an amazing journey. I think we spoke about a lot of these, right? From India World to Netcore to Neo. You also wrote an amazing book, Building Proficon, the profitable unicorn. I think I heard that word probably the first time through your book. And all the conversations that we had leading to your book and thereafter. As you look at this journey, both being as an author, sharing your learning through your blogs and building Neo and Neo and beyond Neo, what lies ahead? What motivates you? What are the threads that puts it all together as you think about all these?
So I'll just connect two things. One is the writing. I've been writing since 2000 on daily, except for the 7 years in between when I was doing some political work. But for me, writing or getting something new published every day, because that creates the discipline of reading, and it creates the discipline of thinking. I think we learn a lot when we write. And I write for myself. Okay, it's just iterating through ideas, making them better. And because I'm not worried about an audience, I'm not waiting for that perfect essay or the perfect.
You have built your own agentic model since 2000, I must say. You have been consuming information, processing it, and delivering outputs, right?
In a way, I couldn't have put it better, Deepak. And I think writing helps with clarity. I think even in today's age, see, AI can do all the writing at the end of the day, but it's your mind. It's your mind which needs that clarity. And one thing which now what happens is when I'm writing, because Claude and ChatGPT both have access to my hundreds of essays which I've written, they actually now also do a good amount of thinking. They come up with ideas. The idea of live ledger which I spoke about,
right,
was a ChatGPT original. I'd never thought of
That's your digital twin.
That's in a way my digital twin. Absolutely right. Yeah. So that's sort of the journey. The book came about as a series of blog posts that I had written during the early years of the pandemic, startup to Proficon. And I tried to write about, so Proficon I defined as a company which is bootstrapped, which is profitable and scaled. Even the Kirana wala is profitable, but the scale is missing. And scale I define as at least 100 million in sort of valuation. And I did it in India World, and of course Netcore is there also. That it's a different set of choices which you make. When you think about profitability from day one, okay, you have greater freedom in the way you operate. It's not about lowering the risk. I think it's about the fact that in a unicorn, people end up with maybe 10% stake. So the financial outcome is identical. But in many cases I see entrepreneurs basically become employees in unicorns because 90% is owned by, say, other investors or investors. So I think when I connect this, these things, it's about picking up big problems, impossible problems, and for me, it's also about finding blue oceans in the red oceans. So everywhere you look, it's competitive, hyper-competitive spaces. Yeah. But in every space, there is a blue ocean, an uncontested market space, where I think we can go in and solve those impossible problems which everyone is ignoring. For example, in what we discussed, Agentic is going to be a red ocean. Every marketing company, sure, even the AIs getting into the application space, they will all have solutions. But maybe the missing middle, the rest and test, the neo-marketing ideas, the attention, that could potentially become a blue ocean out there. So what's key is, I think, for entrepreneurs is and that's been my sort of how I think, find the biggest problem that you can. It takes the same amount of time whether you're going to succeed or fail. So might as well fail big and hopefully win big. So that's number one. Second is find that market space where you don't have too many competitors, or ideally zero competitors, that blue ocean. And if you think hard enough, there is always a blue ocean and a red ocean. And third is think about profitability from day one. It's not an afterthought. I mean, when I look at so-called startups after 10 years, 15 years, still losing money quarter after quarter, and there's a business model problem. I think if we can bring in this profitability mindset, yeah, some businesses will require some initial capital. You're building,
but get the unit economics model right.
You have to get that right. Because that gives you as an entrepreneur the maximum control. You can say no, which is what I did when I was building my businesses. But if I didn't like the valuation, I didn't like the terms on the table, I could say no and walk away because I was profitable.
It gives you a lot of freedom and choice.
Absolutely.
What an amazing conversation. Thank you so much, Rajesh Jain, for this. A few takeaways for me as I absorb all the insights that you've shared with us. The first one is your resilience. The failures that you went through, and then just around the corner there was a big hit that you had waiting for you. From there to the way you think about marketing, right? And what I'm taking away from that is your framework thinking, right? You look at a problem and I think you're able to frame it so beautifully. The frameworks that you've shared with us, and within that framework, where is the opportunity space? Now I'm connecting that with blue ocean that you just spoke about, and the future of marketing, the way you've outlined how it could look in the future, 2030. Ultimately, marketing has to drive profitable growth, and we have to go back to that time using now AI, which will deliver hyper-personalization and great outcomes for business. So truckloads of new learning for me. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you.
Absolutely, Rajiv. And I think from the early days of India World to Netcore to Neo and building a global, I think, marketing powerhouse, it's an amazing journey. And I think despite all the success, your curious learning ability and making those notes, writing blogs, always connecting with ideas and vision, and I think staying grounded. I think there are qualities which India's to everybody around, Rajesh, who has interacted with you, and I think it's truly a privilege to have had this conversation. And I hope the story that you have shared of your courage, your failure, your constant reinventing and challenging the status quo will not just inspire young entrepreneurs, but also probably many folks who are part of the enterprise, a lot of them who are probably watching where to go and invest or take their next big bet. And I think probably picking up from the red ocean and the blue ocean, and how do we imagine AI at core by solving problems at scale. So I think a lot of interesting takeaways, and we thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Absolutely. And to our learners and listeners, if today's episode gave you something to think about, share it with your fellow marketeer, founder, or AI geek who loves breaking the blur between technology and creativity.
You have been listening to Clearing the Blur and also watching with Rajiv and Deepak. Show us some love, like the video, and do subscribe to our channel. Stay curious, stay creative, and remember, the future isn't waiting. It's already here. Some people wonder what happened. and some make it happen. Make your choice. See you next time.